Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin, HRA Advisories. I'm here at the September 2025 Metal Investors Forum. I'm here with Morgan Poliquin. He's the CEO of Almadex Minerals, which is one of the companies I invited to present with me. Almadex trades on the venture under symbol DEX. It's a very interesting deal. I mean, it's evolved over a lot of years. Morgan and Chairman and his dad, Dwayne Poliquin, they assembled a lot of good projects in several different jurisdictions. They did a couple of smart deals a few years back, and the upshot of that is Almadex has now, got 20 million plus working capital. They've owned their own drills for a long time, so they also do some third-party drilling work. And the upshot of that working capital, plus being able to offset a lot of G&A some years, sometimes all of it drilling, means this is a company that still has a pretty tight share structure, 60 million shares, some fairly large shareholders, and these guys aren't going to be doing a placement, unfortunately, for a long time, probably. The company was busy in Canada. You still got a bunch of properties up here, but I mean, your focus for the last, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years now, I guess, has been basically a generative program, which is something you guys know how to do. It's not you've done this before. You guys have got a discovery track record. Can you talk about, what led you to decide to do this generative program over this sort of broad area in the U.S.?
Well, thanks very much, Eric, for having me. Yeah, we have been focused on a different part of North America the last 25 years, which is Mexico, but people may know you can't stake claims there right now. So we've shifted kind of the knowledge base we built there about how to tear apart a continent and look at new belts. And so it's kind of the premise is that there are unusual things happening in any subduction zone, and they happen at different ages, and they tap the same fertility. So once you understand that certain parts of the crust have this fertility, then you can look at different time periods. And we think there's a time period in the Western United States that's been underappreciated for its potential to host porphyries, and that age has actually had some pretty good gold deposits associated with it. So we're looking at the tops of copper porphyry systems, which manifest, for lack of kind of a layman's term, a great big pile of clay. And the porphyry can be anywhere in that pile of clay, and sometimes you have multiple porphyries in the pile of clay. But I think we've traced out where there's a bunch of these, and the time that they occurred, and permissive areas along this belt where we expect, the better fertility, if you like. So our strategy after spending the last couple of years of assembling this big portfolio of early stage properties is to go and drill them with our own drills. And unfortunately, sometimes it's like a mushroom cap, and you got a pile of clay, and you don't find the stem. So our strategy is to drill each one of these with a scout kind of program, and obviously hope we make a discovery. That's the intent of it. But in the absence of that, ruling some out, these aren't good ones, we're not going to go back here, and or this is still interesting, but now we know where to go next.
Right.
And the flexibility of having your own drills, and of course the luxury, the great good fortune of having the working capital we have allows us to do that.
Right. Okay, so you got a drill turning right now, and you said in your presentation you think you'll get a couple more properties drilled between now and year end.
It'll just be first pass drilling, not large programs, but that's the idea. Yeah.
Right, and this is just going to be like a couple of holes, basically.
Couple holes, and in some cases of this, some of our projects have really more discrete-like targets where you've got a bunch of geology, geochem, geophysics all lining up together, where there's, I wouldn't say it's an X marks the spot, but it's a there's a key thing to test, and it ought to inform us a great deal. Whereas other ones, it's a little bit more diffuse. So each one is different, and there's different levels of exposure and erosion. And there's one that I keep pointing to give people the idea of what we hope to accomplish at the end of all of this is a discovery made in Indonesia where the clay alteration on top is from an earlier event, it's thought, and it's completely barren. And it acted as an aquitard, meaning it restricted the fluids, and so they're extra rich beneath it. And that's several billion tons of around 1% copper, around 1 gram gold, and it was totally obscured by this clay alteration. So,
and your stuff, just so people are clear on it. I mean, you didn't go out and option stuff. I mean, you had fairly large areas that you thought had permissive geology, and then once you started hunting them down, I think all of these, or pretty much all of them, you guys just staked them.
Just staking, yeah. A lot of them were available. In many cases, we can see no evidence that they were drilled before. They are off the beaten path because the belt that the sort of geometry of the belt that I've defined isn't. Well, it may cross areas where there's a lot of activity. It goes away from areas of past activity and whatnot. So some of them are out on their lonesome, it would appear. But all of them have the characteristics of a porphyry system, and it is our belief that they're associated with these really unique events tectonically.
Okay, and I assume I assume this is at least partially proprietary, so I'm not going to dig too much on specifically what you do. But one thing I'm wondering is I think you said in the presentation 14 projects, and there's probably others coming. I know some of them are at elevation. I mean, are any of these projects ones where you can do anything in Q1, or are you pretty much locked down from late next month until April or something like that? I mean, how much seasonality do you have to deal with?
It varies in Nevada. We've drilled, you can drill year round in most of but there's certainly some in Nevada that are going to be much more difficult. I've got some at 6,000 feet. But we have properties also in Arizona, which it's better to drill in the winter because drilling in August and 50 degrees or whatnot. So yeah, my dad, who you kindly mentioned, he worked for a guy called Albert Coffin, and in the 60s in northern Manitoba, and they found, I think it was 18 mines in 20 years, and they went long stretches without finding them. But how they did it is they had lined up a series of anomalies along a belt, much the same. Back then it was just geophysics, and they systematically drilled each one, one or two holes into each one of these EM anomalies. And so you hope you're using really good geologic acumen, but you have to be systematic about it. And so that's what we're trying to do.
Okay. So, very good story. This is one of those stocks I just think is worth following. I mean, it's worth expressing again that, Morgan and his dad, Dwayne, these guys have got a discovery track record. They have found, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4, depending on who's counting, deposits, a couple of which should be mines, except for political issues we won't waste your time on. But there's not that many teams that have found 3 or 4 deposits. I mean, everybody arm weighs this stuff, but I mean, Dwayne and Morgan, they just go out and do it. And like I said, through a lot of smart deals, they now have a company with a very tight share structure. It's got, like 30 cents a share or something in working capital. If you were looking for, if you don't mind this end of the risk category, and you're looking for what's really a relatively low risk bet as an early phase explorer because of the working capital, because they don't have to dilute and go back to market. I think it's a great story for anybody looking for an early stage discovery play. I mean, these guys have done it before, and I'm betting they're going to do it again. Almadex Minerals, DEX on the venture. Morgan Poliquin, CEO. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.